What's up, guys? It's Unbox Therapy here, and today I'm going to take a look at the iPad 2 in depth. I took my time, I wanted to play with it before I came back to YouTube with my review, and that's just because it wouldn't be responsible to do a review without having used the device for a number of days. I'm going to go over the differences between this one and the first one because you already know enough about the first. Rather than covering everything there is to cover about the iPad, I'm going to cover the differences. So first and foremost, this one is supposed to be twice as fast. Is it twice as fast? I don't know. It seems like at this point there aren't any applications that can really take advantage of that dual-core processor, and that makes sense considering this hasn't been available to developers until now. One thing I can tell you is that in the web browser, when launching super heavy pages, this one does seem substantially quicker than the first one. That being said, the first one was no slouch, and loading web pages is not necessarily a scientific way of determining just how fast a CPU is. It does tell you something, but it's not like a benchmark or anything like that. So as far as speed goes, I don't think we're going to be able to get an accurate gauge on just how important it is until we see some new applications designed from the ground up to take advantage of the dual core. That being said, there is GarageBand in the new iMovie, and those might be as close as we're going to get for the time being as far as being able to stress out this dual-core processor. The next thing I want to talk about is battery life. And as you'd imagine, brightness has a huge part to play on what to expect. That being said, if I knock the brightness down in half, which is more than usable, I'm getting easy 10 hours out of it. So super impressed with the battery life at the moment. Other than that, the physical design is what's seen the biggest changes. It's lighter, it's thinner, as you all know. And one of the improvements I've noticed because of the thinner enclosure is the speed and accuracy that I'm getting when doing portrait thumb typing. Because it's just that little bit lighter and a little bit thinner, my thumbs are reaching to the center keys on the keyboard substantially better. I'm going to take a look at a few apps in this review. There's some stuff that's new out there and some stuff I'm just impressed with. This first one that you've been looking at is called Zeit, and it's a customized newsreader. They want to call it a magazine. And what it does is learn from what you like and dislike. So you can set it up with some guidelines in the first place, say you're into tech or gadgets. And then from there, as you like or dislike articles that have been designated for you, it starts to improve its results based on your history. So I haven't used this for too long, but the concept seems incredible. And hopefully it does what it says it's going to do. So I think you should all give it a try and report back and let me know just how smart it is. The next app I'm going to look at is called App Start. And this is for all of you who haven't had an iPad before and you want a crash course as far as figuring it out. This app's going to teach you all the basics, from running your email client to browsing the web to playing games, etc. So if you haven't had an iPad before, definitely check this one out. Next thing I'm going to check out is the camera on the device. This is also one of the new features. To me, not a super important feature, but it's there nonetheless. You've got a forward-facing camera and a backward-facing camera, and the purpose of these is for FaceTime. Other than that, they don't serve much of a purpose. I guess the back camera could take quick shots that you want to post to your social networks or things like that, but this is going to be mostly used for FaceTime or people who just want to screw around in photo booth like I'm doing right now. The next thing I want to cover is GarageBand, and I'm not really going to do a full review. I might do a full review of GarageBand in the future, but this is one of those applications that seems like it should have the ability to stress out the new dual-core processor. Since it's a multi-track recorder, you can set up a bunch of tracks with different plugins and effects on them. That seems like something that might stress out this little baby. But I'll report back on that. I think I'm going to do a full GarageBand review, and I'm probably even going to produce a whole beat just using GarageBand and the iPad. So subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for that. You'll see what this little piece of software is capable of. At this point, I'm really impressed with it. There's nothing out there in this form factor that's going to give you the production tools that GarageBand gives you. So for whoever's out there that programmed this, I want to give them huge props. That's a real step forward as far as usability in music production. Next, we're going to take a look at Google Earth. And if there's any app in the store from a third party that could take advantage of this new processing power, this might be it. As we all know, it's a fairly resource-intensive application. So let's take a look when we type in a city here. It seems about the same at this point, but let's go ahead and try some multi-touch gestures and see how it behaves. So when we zoom in, we're getting immediate feedback. Yeah, that's really nice, really smooth in fact. It actually does seem a little bit snappier than on the previous generation. That being said, there have been a bunch of revisions to improve the usability on the iPad for this particular application. But it feels super smooth, and I'm assuming that it can benefit from the improved RAM, and as I've said a million times already in this review, the dual-core processor. But remember, this app still runs good on the original iPad. You know, it's going to be optimized to work with less processing power, so that's not going to be a deal breaker. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what to expect in some of the core applications and applications that you are likely going to install. As we all know, we can run Netflix on the iPad. We're going to be able to stream, some HD video on here. Again, we've got some improved graphics performance. You can see that it's no match for the new processor. Streaming is smooth. The frame rate looks good. So at this point, I'm impressed with this device. It's what I expected and then some. As everybody's been saying, it's not really a revolution, but more of an evolution. Now I'm going to go over some of my pros and cons having used the device. First and foremost, I'm impressed with it. The iPad is still easily the most smooth of all the tablets available on the market. First, the pros. It's thinner, lighter, faster, as you all know. It's got dual cameras. They're not the greatest, but they're there. You have the option to buy this model in white and black, which may not matter to some, but having the option is better than not. The portrait thumb typing is improved, mostly because of the thinness and lightness. The battery life is just as good as it used to be with the improved power, and the screen is bright, especially for an IPS display. Not so great with the screen resolution, which is the same as the previous model, although it had been rumored that we could expect to see a better resolution on this model. The Wi-Fi, which is kind of weird, actually works better upside down when using it in portrait mode. Apps don't currently take advantage of the dual-core processor, and the camera quality leaves a lot to be desired, especially when super tiny smartphones can shoot decent pictures these days. Do me a favor and visit the channel. There's a lot of cool stuff to take a look at.